I envision a city where whatever size housing you need exists and is allowed to exist in any neighborhood that you might want to live in.
They're focusing on affordable housing, home ownership, and creating additional rental space in Baltimore. The Housing Options and Opportunity Act, if passed, could impact neighborhoods across Baltimore. Hi everyone, I'm Jason News and welcome to 11 TV Hill. Among other things, the bill would allow a homeowner to subdivide a home and use part of it as a rental unit. Now, supporters say it'll give people more options and could help lead to more home ownership. Opponents say it could destabilize neighborhoods.
When you have somebody who has zero investment in the community or in the city, and then they want to siphon money, but they don't want any responsibility, then I think that's kind of that's what I take issue with.
Renting is much more conducive to today's vibrant young culture that work remotely and move all over the country, just experimenting with different cities to see what they're like.
Here to discuss the bill is Baltimore City Councilman Zach Blanchard. Good to see you.
Hey, Jason, good to see you again.
As you look through the housing stock, as this bill starts to come up,
Yep.
What do you think Baltimore was missing?
Yeah, so, I mean, you've seen for the last couple decades the type of housing that we've been building.
Yeah.
We've been building the large, like kind of high-end luxury, you know,
Sure.
either market rate or, two-car garage row home,
Yeah.
That type of thing. And then also less on the other end of government subsidized affordable housing. We built some of that as well.
Sure.
And both those things are good and important, but we haven't been building anything in between, the missing middle of housing. So the types of housing that regular Baltimoreans may choose, right? And that's the whole idea of the package.
Walk me through the package, because it sounds like there will be some neighborhoods, and not a whole lot, it sounds like it's a small percentage, where there's some homes that typically could only be zoned for single family. This will allow that to change a little bit.
Yes, yeah. So there's R1 through R4, residential 1 through R4. Those have been since the 1931 zoning code was our first zoning code was introduced. Said these will only be single family, and this bill says actually you can have small multifamilies, 2, 3, or 4 unit if the house is big enough anywhere in the city.
So this isn't building an apartment complex in someone's backyard, but if there's a large enough house in their backyard, it could be subdivided, yeah?
Well, if it's your backyard, you would have to make that decision, right?
Right.
But if it's your neighbor's backyard,
Sure.
then they would make that decision.
Okay. Before, you heard a citizen there talking about the fear of having a developer come in
Sure.
and decide, out of state, all right, this is a moneymaker for me.
Sure.
Are there safeguards against that, or is that something that's come up in the conversation?
Yeah, so definitely. So first off, I have since we introduced this package, this bill and the related bills in May, I've met with about 20-something neighborhood associations, spoken with over 400 residents, both supporters and opponents. So I've been working really hard both to explain why we're supporting it, but also to hear what people's concerns are, right? And certainly the thing that I think is important to drive home is right now in a lot of the city, you can effectively only have say a 2,000 square foot 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom, right?
Sure.
Like that's really effectively the only thing we're allowing. We're not allowing, imagine an 800 square foot, 1-bedroom in a lot of the city. And so the question is, A, should we legally be allowing that? And I think the answer is definitely yes, we should be allowing that across the city. And then B, what is the benefit of that? Well, there's a lot of people, whether you're a 1 or 2 person household, or you might be lower income and trying to move into a higher opportunity area. There's a ton of reasons why we should be allowing that across the city.
Yeah, you use a good word there, opportunity. Do you think that the way that things are right now, some folks don't have the opportunity to say move away from crime or move away from a spot where there aren't as many jobs?
So Jason, let me explain the history of why we have single family zoning both in Baltimore and in the country. So in 1910, Baltimore City pioneered a racial zoning, saying that a black family couldn't move onto a white block and vice versa. 1917, the Supreme Court says, hey, that's unconstitutional, overturns it. Baltimore and other cities said, well, how do we continue to discriminate and keep black families out of white neighborhoods? Single family zoning is exactly one of the key things that they found to continue it. They say it's not racial exclusion, but it's class-based economic exclusion, and that's what we continue to see. We're still seeing that exact thing happening. The same folks who put redlining in place put single-family zoning in place.
So effectively, it could be life-changing for a family who's felt like they've been stuck in one area of the city and hasn't even seen the other side.
Sure, whether you felt stuck in one area in the city and you want to live closer to where your kids go to school or where you work or whatever, or if you just if you're looking for, a place for $900 or $1,000, I have so many constituents who reach out because they're about to get evicted, and and a lot of these people are working, right?
Yeah.
They're saying, I can't find anything for less than $1,500 or $1,600 a month, and that's bad. We have locked that into our zoning code, and we should be getting rid of that.
There'll be some folks in neighborhoods where this affects them who says, if I wanted to live near a multifamily home, I would have moved near a multifamily home.
Sure.
Well, what's the response to them?
Yeah. So look bigger picture on what we're allowing in this. What should we be allowing this, or should we be continuing to ban it?
Yeah.
Right. And I think so many of the city's biggest problems, whether you're looking at public safety, challenges with our school system, high property taxes, general inequality, right? So much of that is rooted into having socioeconomically segregated our city for so long.
Sure.
And so to have a thriving city, we need to have a city that we make it easier to work for everyone. This is not going to solve all of our problems, but it's removing a barrier that shouldn't be there.
All right, we'll go off script a bit. You and I spoke when you won. Now we're talking after you're into the job. What's it like serving the people of Baltimore right now?
It's been awesome.
Yeah.
I was saying before, a lot of times people ask, how does this compare to what you thought it would be? And actually, it's been pretty similar to what I thought it would be. I really appreciate, the constituent services work is fun. It's actually really fun doing the ribbon cuttings and going and seeing all the great stuff that's happening in the district. But there are a couple things, whether it's the housing package or whether it's the smoke shop package that I've been helping lead on, where it feels really good to be helping do things that are going to help move the city in the right direction, like on the bigger picture.
I love that you call it fun. Good to see you, man.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it. Yep.